Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm gonna get into this video breaking down the controversial decision between Dominic Reyes and John Jones. Okay, now, what are my thoughts directly after the fight? Um, you know what? During the fight, um, I wasn't too nervous for John. I noticed that. I feel like I was more nervous for Dominic, and I don't know why. But obviously after this fight, it proves that Dominic is an established veteran. He went to work, and he withstood 5 rounds with the champ, and he put it to him. I want to say it was a closer fight than Santos versus Jones, but it was still a close fight. The first 3 rounds were super debatable, but a lot of people are giving them to Dominic, just because of the output, the volume, the strikes that he did land. I know in the first round, there was this punch that landed that during the fight it looked like it had caught John on the chin, and it looked like it had staggered and dropped him. One thing I had thought during the live feed, I thought to myself, I don't think that was a punch. I don't think that was a clean shot that hurt and stunned Jones and damaged him and had him in trouble. And they actually just dropped the fight motion video today, and I was able to verify that it was not a punch. It was more like of coincidental timing where John is about to step back, and that's the correct time where Dominic was able to throw a punch. So it just looked more, how do I say, damaging. It just looked more damaging in at the time, but it wasn't really much of a that he had dropped Jones. So if you look at it, he never really had Jones in trouble. I'm not gonna sit here and badmouth Reyes, because I feel like he did a lot of great work against John. I think he did a lot of stuff that a lot of his opponents haven't been able to do. I think he was able to dictate the pace of the striking output at some points, and then I feel that that's what his most shining moments during the fight were. But just I feel like since he hadn't gone 5 rounds, he was kind of trying to reserve his energy, maybe trying to figure out how he was going to make it throughout, a 5 round fight. But yeah, it was just one of those weird fights, where each and every round is close. And the first 3 rounds were definitely close. And if you want to give a couple to Reyes, I can't sit here and argue with that. He did really good. He had some really good strikes. Particularly one comes to mind was the uppercut. So if you want to give him that round, definitely. The first 3 rounds, like I said, were close, but the fourth and fifth, I have to give to John, just because of the amount of aggression he was still outputting, and just how he was willing to push the pace still even further into the deep waters when it comes to wrestling. Obviously John's a better wrestler than Dominic, and Dominic wasn't able to keep John away. He wasn't able to keep him off him. He got taken down, and it looked bad. You have to look at it this way. A lot of people don't want to give it any credit towards a championship bout, like who's the champion, who's not. But at the end of the day, like, that does matter. Some journalists and MMA reporters want to say that that shouldn't matter. It should all be based on points. But let's think about this realistically. How long does it take to become a number one contender? How long does it take to get a title shot? Yeah, no. Once you become the champion, that matters, and you have to be able to take out the champ. Not necessarily, knock him out, not necessarily submit him, but come on, do something that shows that you are the new man in town. Yes, Reyes did do a great job. He did outpoint John a lot throughout the fight, but he didn't do enough to show me that he's the new stud in town. He didn't show me enough to tell me that he's going to be the next guy knocking out everybody and submitting everybody. If anything, it kind of showed me that, if he becomes champion, he might not be able to stay champion as long. So a lot of people are giving him a lot of praises, and as they should, but at the same time, look at both sides of the coin, or the sword, however, whatever metaphor you want to use, but you can't look at just things in all positives, At the same time, let's be realistic. Let's see what John actually did. He not only withstood Reyes' combos, he was able to dish out some punishment as well. If you look back at the fight motion, he landed a bunch of head kicks, he landed some combos. And again, don't take away those takedowns. The octagon control was there the entire time. So, how are you going to give a fight to a guy who's, walking backwards and evading most of the time? I'm not saying that Reyes was running, and I'm not saying John didn't use some of those evading techniques as well. But at the same time, John had the octagon control. John dictated the pace of the fight for the most part, even if he was taking a punch or two here or there. I don't know. I like to assess damage a lot of times throughout the fight, and I'm not saying John did more damage than Dominic, but Dominic didn't do enough to really, wow me or impress me or be like, oh man, this guy's the new champion. He definitely, put it to John. I mean, it was a close fight, and I wouldn't have been mad if they would have said it was a draw, but even a majority decision towards Jones would have been a little better. If they would have done split towards Reyes, that would have been okay. But definitely not swaying towards Reyes' side. But he did a great job, and it was a close fight. It is what it is. I'm sure they'll have a rematch at some point throughout their careers. So looking forward to that. But even in the rematch, I'll still take Jones all day.